Today I fucked up by putting my head in a fishbowl before my daughter was born. There's not really much backstory apart from the fact that my daughter was a breech baby and wouldn't turn. Due to various complications, we had opted for a planned C-section. The whole thing in general was just really bizarre, like, you pick your kid's birthday just like that. Anyway, my wife and I tend to be goofy, fun-loving folk that's always up for a laugh. We do a lot of silly things together to make each other laugh, though as with most men, I tend to meander into the dumber territory more often, as you will soon hear. On the day of the birth, just as we were about to leave to the hospital, I picked up this fishbowl-style lampshade. Looked something like this. We hadn't yet put up onto my head because we're boldly going where neither of us have gone before. I just saw it on my way to the door and didn't really think it through, so I immediately regretted this decision when my giant ears, my nose and hair, got down to my ass-length hair that was in a loose bun, ended up blocking my head in this thing and I couldn't get it off. We tried for a bit, and my wife was understandably over it pretty quick because we were going to be late for our baby appointment, so I made the executive decision to not make the situation any more stressful than it should have been. Too late, and to just drive to the hospital with this on my head and hope that someone at the hospital might have some idea what I should do. As you can imagine, the car ride was a real mixed bag of emotions for us all. We arrive, I do the walk of shame into the maternity ward with this bubble on my head holding my wife's hand, and there's this older nurse who greeted us and I could see her dinner plate eyes just screaming what the fuck. And my wife jokingly said, "Yep, I'm having his baby," to which literally all the midwives in the maternity ward that could see us walk up the corridor just start howling with laughter, and whoever was not visible poked their heads round the corner to see this fucking spectacle. My wife was then ushered into a room where they monitored the baby and her. A nurse, who was this massive, buff tattooed dude, by the way, so imagine that, took me to another one of those inspection rooms and got the thing off with some sort of lube/gel. Anyway, 4 hours later, we had a healthy baby and I got hazed by some of the older midwives. It was really good fun in the end. Wouldn't recommend, but it definitely beats any other birth story I've heard and broke the ice with most of the staff. Too long didn't read, I got a bowl-shaped lampshade stuck on my head and had to take my wife to the hospital to have our baby whilst I had the bowl removed. Yes, for those of you wondering how I got it on in the first place, here's some handy-dandy instructions in case you want to give it a go. Get the bun in first, then move downwards over the ears, the nose, and then push down until the ears get into the rim. The bun will smoosh up inside and move downwards a bit and voila, you're a jackass. Glad you guys found this so amusing. I don't know what these awards do, but I've never gotten one on my main before, so thanks for handing them to me. Also, thanks for all being so swell. I honestly was expecting people to just call me an idiot, but I've gotten some really lovely messages from some of you. Can't stop laughing. Have you stopped yet? It's been 3 hours since typing that. I'm just imagining what it would be like to pull up to a red light, look over, and see you driving with a fishbowl on your head. Guy genuinely laughed out loud. Your wife's comment was priceless. I know they say parenting can make you feel like a fish out of water, but come on. Voila, you're a jackass. Best part. Today I fucked up by forgetting to bring a hair tie to work. Reposting with some updates. Buckle up, folks. This is going to be one hell of a ride. I work in an inpatient psychiatric hospital. 90% of the time, psych hospitals are nothing like the movies. Even the psychotic patients are generally pretty harmless and mostly just talk to themselves and pace around. This story is about one of the outliers. The worst patients are the ones who are pretty much just here because they are high off their ass and might be a danger to themselves as they come down. This guy was blitzed off his ass on K2 and very aggressive from the start. He came to us from a regular hospital after having surgery. He had a big incision in his stomach with staples. Because he was so aggressive and demonstrated self-harm, picking at his incision, biting himself, he was put on a 1-to-1 protocol, meaning someone has to be within arm's length of him at all times. I did that for 2 hours with no incident, and then someone else took over. At about 12:30 a.m., This guy, who had been sleeping, started screaming in his room. We rushed to investigate and he was hitting himself and ripping at his incisions. He was spouting all kinds of crazy crap that didn't really make sense. You can't just sedate a patient, it has to be ordered by a physician. Since this is the night shift, there is no doctor in the building, just nurses and CNAs. We have to call the doctor, wake him up in the middle of the night, very grumpy, and get an order to sedate him. Call for backup from the sheriffs on duty who provide security for the building and then get ready to sedate him. I realize that I don't have a hair tie. My hair is long and down. Best case scenario, it'll be in my face. Worst case scenario, the patient can grab me and hurt me. We walk into the room and are hit by this awful shit smell. He's smeared it on the floor, the walls, everywhere. There he stands, naked as the day he was born, shit all over his arms and legs. We can't worry about that too much right now, there are more pressing matters. I gag a bit. We line up, ready to hold him. I'm a small woman so I'm a little intimidated at the prospect of trying to restrain this big dude, but nonetheless I prepare myself. And then all hell breaks loose. Hands and elbows are flying, everyone is grunting and straining, and we are failing miserably to get this guy under control. We can hold him for a second but not long enough to do the injection. While all this is going on, he is dragging everyone through his shit, smearing what's on him on us, and trying to bite us. Eventually, he does make purchase on my ear and I recoil briefly in pain before getting back in the thick of it. The two sheriffs eventually get some handcuffs on him and then we bring him to the ground. Because he bit me, and assaulted everyone really, they place him under arrest. His incision opened up so he was bleeding a bit from his surgical wound. We hold him like that for an hour and a half waiting for more law enforcement to arrive to transport him to jail. I still have no idea what took them so damn long, but restraining him was exhausting, even with him in handcuffs. Every single one of us was covered in his shit. It was on my shoes, my scrubs, my hair, it was awful. We just had to deal with it though. After he was hauled off to jail, still naked, still covered in shit, we mopped the room and tried to clean ourselves up as much as possible. I spent the rest of my shift, 6 hours, wearing patient scrubs which are made out of paper. So that sucked. Today, the next day, he is back at our psych unit because he was declared incompetent so he can't be charged. At least he's wearing clothes now. Too long didn't read, I had to wrestle a naked man covered in his own shit and high off his ass. I didn't have my hair put up, so he pulled my hair and bit my ear and I got shit all over me, and my hair. Please 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 make sure this man doesn't have any diseases that are bloodborne or transmitted through feces, Hep B, Hep C, HIV. Talk to occupational health and get tested and see if they suggest preemptive treatment. That's wow, just wow. People who work in psych facilities are going to a higher heaven, I swear. FYI, if you ever forget a hair tie again, rip the cuff off of a few nitrile gloves. Boom. Hair tie. Edit. Wow, thanks for the awards guys. D just trying to help a sister, brother, sibling, out. That is so smart. Off girl, that's rough. I also work in inpatient psych. I'll never forget my first shit smearer. He put it everywhere on his body and was trying to come after us with it. One of my techs, tiny, little 60-plus-year-old Jamaican woman, takes one look at him, points her finger and shouts, "Boy, you clean yourself up before I have to do it for you," and he turned around so quick it nearly made your head spin. I love her. Man, I so don't miss working at the hospital on the neurological floor. Now, obviously, neuro isn't psych. However, if psych overflowed, which was often, they sent them to us. Like you, they were mostly harmless. But I too had a hair tie on hand. I never got into something as bad as you just described, but I do have a few funny/sweet stories. One, had a guy who thought he was in a hotel room. Since he was a seizure risk and fall risk, we had him and our other seizure risks on CCTV. I was overnight so I just sat in the CCTV room and tried not to fall asleep, while making sure nobody had a seizure. This guy, however, was always up at night and always masturbating. We weren't allowed to not watch. Eventually, another nurse found some electrical tape and we put it over where his genitals were on the monitor. 2. I had a patient who believed I was a demon and the only way she could save me and turn me to God was to tickle me. She rolled the hallway in her wheelchair asking me to raise my arms. She also sang to me jelly jelly jelly, I got jelly, repeatedly. 3. Had a sweet elderly man who thought I was his pregnant wife. Each time I was checking on him he wanted to rub my belly and asked when the baby would come. I wasn't pregnant. Sometimes we'd talk about what we would name it. It was so adorable, and easier to play along than upset him and orient him because he was waiting on a hospice bed. At one point he even asked for the phone so he could order flowers for me and our baby. Well, bless you. I can't imagine doing this sort of work, and I can't imagine what life would be like without people like you doing it. When my daughter was an EMT, she put in some nights in a psych ward. She said it could be terribly depressing. Today I fucked up by touching what I thought was a leaf. I work at a boutique. We sell clothes and perfume and candles, that kind of stuff. So last week, we were rearranging racks for a sale and my boss tells me to move some pants around. I go over to this rack of culottes that no one ever looks at because they're ridiculous. I don't even know why they're on the floor during winter. I start flipping through them to see what sizes there are and I spot something small and brown on one of the pants. Sometimes we'll put a rack of clothes on the sidewalk if the weather is nice, but that hasn't been for at least a month. So I just think, damn, truly no one looks at these pants. How has this leaf been on here so long? I look at it for maybe 1 second and just brush my hand at it, you know, to get this leaf off. And immediately I know, that is not a leaf. So naturally, I just start screaming. This thing falls on the floor and starts making tiny screechy noises. I bolt to the other side of the store at this point because that one episode of The Office absolutely terrified me. In the process, I knock over a mannequin and dent the crap out of the wood floor. There are a few customers in the store and one of them just keeps yelling, "What's going on? What is it?" Our little old 70-year-old customer sees this tiny winged rat on the floor and starts walking towards it. I still don't understand what she wanted to do, so I'm yelling for her to move away because our ABs, dude. This bat just takes off, flying all over the place. Cue all the customers, except the 70s/show, running in opposite directions, one knocking over a jewelry display and another taking down the curtain to a fitting room. I start yelling for my boss because this was not covered in my training. She comes running carrying 2 doormats. Looking back, I have no idea what she was planning to do with those. I grab a shoebox as if I'm somehow going to get high enough to catch it. The bat finally flew to the back of the store and crawled into the gap above our air conditioning vent. All the customers but the 70-year-old left. Props to her. She actually said, "I didn't think I was gonna go on an adventure today." That was pretty cute. Thankfully, the bat was caught and released the next day. But yeah, in hindsight, I really wish I'd taken the extra few seconds to register what I was looking at so I could have avoided sending everyone into a complete panic and breaking a bunch of stuff. And also avoided touching a bat, even if it was a little bit cute. Too long didn't read, touched what I thought was a leaf, ended up sending my workplace into a batshit crazy panic. Edit, holy crap. I did not expect this to be so popular. I literally posted this at 4 AM because I saw a bat sweatshirt in a thrifting sub and I was like, I bet Reddit would like to hear about that. Thanks for the awards. Edit 2, I'm sorry, I added some line breaks. Also, I'm going to call my doctor about getting a rabies shot. Yikes.